you just close that door? Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday to all. We have a beautiful day outside, nice and sunny. Let's hope it stays that way. It hasn't been like that much this spring. I am Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz, and I am joined, of course, by our Erie County Sheriff's Office Sheriff John Garcia, as well as significant members of his staff who he will introduce from the Erie County offices and departments that are under my auspices. We are joined by the Commissioner of the Department of Environment and Planning, Dan Castle. We are also joined by the Deputy Commissioner for Buildings and Grounds in the Department of Public Works, Tracy Sahaki, as well as the Commissioner of the Department of Mental Health, Sarah Bonk. Mark Roundtree from the Department of Environment and Planning is here, and we also have Rob Fish, one of our consultants, as we are here to discuss the comprehensive facility and operational needs assessment that was performed through the Department of Environment and Planning to determine the future of our facilities that we have for incarcerated individuals in Erie County. As most people know, we have two facilities in Erie County. We have the holding center downtown, which is nearly 100 years old, and we have a facility that was built in 1980s in Alden, the correctional facility. When they were constructed, the holding center was for pre-convicted inmates and detainees, and the correctional facility was made for those that were serving their sentences. But over time that changed, where there are pre-conviction detainees at the correctional facility and there are individuals who are serving sentences down at the holding center. And we have this old, very old holding center, which we know has significant issues associated with it. This is something that I think we all understood needs to be undertaken, the analysis and moving forward, though cost-wise it is very expensive. We wanted to figure out what was the best way forward. And so the analysis is now complete. It is a comprehensive, as I said, facility and operational needs assessment for the Erie County Holding Center and Erie County Correctional Facility that was done in conjunction with the Department of Environment and Planning and the Erie County Sheriff's Office. It was a complete assessment that looked at the facilities, the needs as they stand today with the number of detainees and inmates that are in any one given day in both facilities, as well as the needs of the greater community. This was not just a site assessment of the buildings, it was also discussion in the community. And as part of the consulting team, Arthur Hall and Arthur Hall Consulting went out and talked to members of the community to figure out what were their needs associated with potentially having a family member or a loved one in one of these facilities. So I want to thank Sheriff John Garcia and his team for the openness and working with our team to come up with an analysis that I feel is a very good analysis, a complete analysis, and one that we jointly believe there's only really one path forward, and that is to significantly renovate the facility at Alden, build additional complexes there on land that we already own, and then close the holding center downtown with that location to be determined of future use, whether it's demolished or potentially sold to a private developer for an adaptive reuse project. The option that we're choosing is also the least expensive of the options that are available. But just because it's least expensive does not mean it is inexpensive. The option itself costs over $400 million. $428,805,807. And considering this will need to be borrowed money, when we are talking about the long-term debt service associated with this money, we're talking over $700 million to construct with an annual debt service payment of a little over $25 million. Now, one of the features of this proposal is that it will allow the Sheriff's Office, through attrition, to reduce the headcount of the number of staff that are needed, because now you do not have two facilities that need to be maintained. You have one modern facility that is maintained. And it is believed as a result of that there could be up to $15 million in savings on an annual basis due to the reduction in headcount, as well as other savings that would be created over time. That is key because it allows for not only this to become much more affordable for the people of Erie County, because we're not paying the exact amount in operating costs today. Once this facility is open, or actually operating costs are expected to go down. So we would see savings as a result of the construction of the new facility and renovation of the facility at Alden. As I said, this is a difficult, from a dollar sense, option to look at, but it's the most cost-effective option compared to the others, which are approximately $700 million in total. And when you look at the debt service over a 30-year period, it's almost $1.2 to $1.3 billion. So this option is the one that's most cost-effective and gives us the safest facility, the best facility for the Erie County Sheriff's Office to house our incarcerated individuals. I know that a conversation was held yesterday with members of the caucuses from the Erie County Legislature, both the Democratic and Republican caucuses. I will not speak for them, but our belief is the conversations went well. I want to note that doing nothing is really not an option, because if we do nothing, we're still going to have almost $220 million of maintenance costs to put into at the holding center downtown as well as at the correctional facility. So for those who say you should do nothing and just keep it like it is because then it won't cost us anything, it's going to cost us roughly half the cost of building this brand new facility in Alden. So there really is no option of doing nothing. And we know, and it's not a statement against the Erie County Sheriff's Office or a team, the holding center is just an old, antiquated facility that is very difficult to maintain. I've taken tours in it. It is not a place you want to go. It is not a place that's suitable for modern incarceration methods. What is appropriate is building a new facility in Alden on land we already own, so there'll be no land acquisition costs, which if we were to build a new facility on a brand new parcel in downtown Buffalo, we would have substantial land acquisition costs. And this will come up with the best option for the people of Erie County in the future. I want to once again thank the sheriff and his team for their hard work in coming up with our partners in this report. This was a comprehensive analysis. This was not something that was done very quickly. It cost a lot of money to do this report. It will cost a lot of money to actually build this new facility, but we will have a better and safer facility, not just for the detainees and inmates, but for the staff that works there. And it has to be done. And I think we are the right people to get it done. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Sheriff to offer any comments that he has, and then our Commissioner of Environment and Planning, Dan Castle, will go through the proposal in a little bit more detail. So, Sheriff.
Thank you, County Executive, and very well stated. It really has been an honor working with the County Executive. I want to thank the County Executive and his entire team for putting this forward. I want to thank the Legislature for approving the funds to do the study and conduct the study. I can't say enough about DLR and the people that we've worked with. We've had a very good conversation. We've given them a lot of data. I want to thank Superintendent Mike Phillips, Chief Tom Dina, the Undersheriff Bill Cooley. As the County Executive said, this is not something that is a want. This is a need. And you know, when we took over the Erie County Correctional Facility, the Erie County Sheriff's Office 30 years ago, it should have been considered then. But here we are, 2025, and we're going to see a very good savings as far as security goes. We're going to see it with other duplication of services. You know, the County Executive mentioned about the savings for just security staff in the first year. The study mentioned about 136 less security staff. Each and every time we go to the Legislature for an additional job, we always considered $150,000, which is salary, benefits, legacy costs. That's over $20 million right there. And then you take into consideration every other duplication of services. As I tell people, this is not having another house. This is having another house with a family in it. So from feeding, lodging, assessing their medical conditions, be it mental health, physical health, and so forth. So I want to thank Commissioner Dan Castle, tremendous partner. As always, I want to thank Tracy Sakakis here for Bill Gary. The county executive mentioned, if we do nothing going forward, we still have $200 million in capital projects to bring both the Erie County Correctional Facility and the holding center up to date, updated. It's made out of concrete. It's made out of steel. We, just in having internet run in at the holding center to give the incarcerated tablets was a nightmare. When it was built to lock the door and throw away the key. Now we have programming. Tom Dina's done a great job with all those programs. Sarah Bonk, the Commissioner of Mental Health, comes in each and every day with her staff to help out. This is a new world of corrections. It's no longer jails and prisons. It's about correcting behavior, helping out with medical issues, and in this short period of time that we have people in our custody, to make them better and not to have them return. We do not want return customers. It's a better site for our staff. You see the issues that New York State Department of Corrections has with 4,500 less corrections officers. We don't have that problem today, but I can't say we will or will not have that problem in 10, 15 years. It's a very difficult job. So if our staff is happier, if everybody that comes in to work has better working conditions, if our incarcerated have air conditioning and heating and it's just all the basic needs, 22 medical beds, incredible. We go from 2 to 22. It's a home run. And as the county executive said, it's the only one that makes sense economically. We own about 150 acres there. We don't know what's going to happen in 50 years. If we need to expand, if we need to do something different, we never know what legislation is going to come out of Albany, how we have to, keep on moving in the right direction. But I can tell you this. This is a generational project that's going to change many people's lives. And it's going to change people's lives for the better. When the Erie County Holding Center was built in 1939, War Memorial Stadium, the old rock pile, was built. And so was the Odd. They're no longer around. And I can't wait for the day that we move to Alden and we treat our people in Erie County much better than we're doing so today. We're a better community than to have people in our custody have to go to the Erie County Holding Center. And with that being said, I'd like to introduce, I believe, Dan Castle, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning, everyone. I think you've just heard the purpose and need and why we're doing this study pretty clearly from the county executive and the sheriff. My job at Department of Environment Planning is to help the county decide where we need to go in the future and how do we get there, and help deliver that a facility that then goes over to Public Works to operate and maintain, or the Sheriff's Department. A little over a year ago, we began this journey of this study, and have a great group of internal folks working on this in the steering committee, as well as a tremendous consultant team. And I think what I'd like to do is, I'm going to run through these slides pretty quickly because this report and the slides you're going to see are on the Erie County DEP website right now. You can go download these, look at them in detail. So I'm going to go through them fairly quickly and not try to recover too much of what's already been talked about. But the purpose of the study is really to look at not only the two facilities we have and determine their condition, if they could be renovated, but also to look at where do we go in the future? Do we combine? We pretty much knew we needed to combine into one facility. The question is whether it was downtown, whether it was in Alden, whether it was at a new site. But we knew we needed to do something. There's a number of items in the scope that we talked about. I'm not going to go over each one of these, but really the bottom line is the last bullet there, to determine the best possible facility for residents as well as staff at the most responsible cost to the taxpayers. We looked at what are the current best practices of other facilities around. There's obviously an issue with the recruitment and tension from the Sheriff's Department. And we just have an inefficient duplication of services. Right now, between the two facilities, we have 1,380 beds that we are operating and maintaining for a current population of
826 today.
826. You can see why it's expensive. We need to, modern facilities have smaller residential units. We have pods that are 48 people. You might only have 10, 12 in each one based on the classification of the people. So just not an efficient layout, and you can really see how it gets expensive. So one of the things that became apparent as we refined this cost is if you look at the long-term cost, this project makes sense clearly. If you look at this as wow, $428 million is a lot of money, it is. But when you look at the 30-year bonding period of the project, that's cost savings are incredible, and I'll talk about that here. Quickly, these are the five options we looked at. The baseline is really doing nothing. We knew intuitively that's the non-starter. Option one was selectively demolish and expand at our current location downtown. Very difficult to do. It's essentially three buildings all mashed together, one of which has some historic value, which needs to be protected. And if you want to expand there, you need to go out the back, which is land acquisition, street demapping, and so forth. Very complicated. Ideally, if money was no issue, we would be looking at number two or number three. Complete demolition and reconstruction of a new facility at the holding center, or find a brand new site downtown, 4 to 6 acre site, somewhere downtown, close to courts. Very expensive option, as the county executive had mentioned. So we really looked at option four, which is demolition, partial renovation, and expansion of the facility in Alden. Again, real briefly, these are in the slides, you can look at this. I'm not going to talk about, but go a little bit more detail about each of the options. Option four is more of a campus type setting, improved ability for programming and services, and really improved safer conditions, and much more flexibility and phasability, which is really important as we transition from two facilities to one. Again, you're not going to read this on the slide, but on the handout you can see online, we tried to summarize all the primary benefits. There's program benefits, but there's also facility benefits and financial benefits when you look at it. We realize it's a little farther from downtown. We realize that the transportation for families will be an issue. We've had discussions with NFTA. We're going to try to find some creative solutions. They had a bus line there. It was not really used very much, so they discontinued it. But we will look at some options for whether it's public transit or some other type of van sharing or ride sharing service that we can work with. So I will add also here that we did, as Connie mentioned, we did some input focus group meetings with formerly incarcerated people, families of incarcerated. We met with service providers, law enforcement, and we got a lot of input that really focused this, and really that input helped us focus on Alden. One of the examples is transition housing. One of the focus groups, they talked about, for people that are about to get out of the holding center or the correctional facility, not just to be eventually, here's your stuff, you can go now, is some type of transitional housing for the last 3 or 4 months of their period of incarceration, where it's very low security. They can get their driver's license, they can get a job, they can get their bank account set up before they're just moved out. They find housing. So there is room to do that type of transition housing in Alden. So we're very excited to flesh that out in a little bit more detail. This is the summary of costs of each one that we looked at. I won't do a deep dive, but as you can see, the options 2 and 3 were just prohibitively expensive. Option 1, while similar in costs as presented, you realize that we don't have a cost in there for land acquisition. That could take time and add a substantial piece of cost to it. And it's really just a more complex site to design, renovate, reconstruct, and then operate. So it's much more of a risky cost for construction, so it's more likely to see cost increases downtown versus a more predictable one-story building in Alden. This begins to look at the staff savings, and this is where we really start seeing some of the long-term savings. You can see on the first slide there on I think it's your right, where we talk about the positions and what scenario, what is the requirement of staff positions for each scenario. And you'll see that option 4 has a net reduction of 134 full-time equivalent staff. So that translates to $15.5 million a year in 2024 dollars. Okay, now extend that for 30 years with increases in salaries. You're saving $459 million in staff costs alone by reducing those 134 positions by attrition over the 30 years. That's more than the capital costs right there. But then, you add in the long-term maintenance costs you're avoiding. If we do not maintain the current holding center downtown, that's savings of $78 million right there. And then at the holding center, another $1 million a year annually. So that's $108 million of cost savings on top of the $459 million that was from staff savings. So what you see here is, option 4 may be cost $429 million, but there's $459 million in staff savings, and then $108 million in O&M capital expenditure savings. Net, if you look over the 30 years, we're actually saving $138 million by going this route. So the financial benefits are there when you look at the long term. Again, this is just a summary of them. So, Mark, that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. This is, as I said earlier, it was a comprehensive analysis. This was something that we knew we were going to have to look at. We invested money, and I do, as the sheriff said, I appreciate the appropriation from the legislature to look at this. I talked about this in my State of the County and how we need to move forward. Doing nothing is not an option, and we are moving forward. As has been said, while it may be expensive, there are significant cost savings that justify building a new facility in Alden, demolishing some of it, renovating the rest of it. And I think one of the overriding factors we have to remember is just not cost, it's talking about a better, safer facility for everyone involved. A facility that now has, as the sheriff mentioned, medical beds, up to 22 medical beds, which is really important because there's quite a number of inmates and detainees who are taken to hospitals that don't necessarily need to be taken to hospitals, but they have to be taken to hospitals today because there is no option to have them in a medical facility at either the holding center or the correctional facility. So this will create a safer facility, a modern facility, and it's an expandable facility in Alden, which we would not have in any of the other options. So no matter what happens, we will have options in the future to expand that facility in Alden where we wouldn't have that in any of the other ones. And as I said, doing nothing is not an option because there were going to be significant carrying costs, so to speak, with maintaining and operating the two facilities such that it just does not justify doing nothing. While it's a lot of money, we plan on, the goal would be to borrow it, to have debt service that's spread out over 30 years, which allows us to take advantage of those savings that we talked about. So this comprehensive study, I want to thank everybody who played a role in it. It was done in a tremendous fashion. It is something that if you can go through it, and if you want to read it, as was noted, it is now live on the Erie County Department of Environment and Planning's website. It is comprehensive. And while I know from some folks in the community there's always going to be questions and critique, we all agree this is the best option going forward, and we are hopeful that we'll be able to begin this process very soon. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions from the members of the media, and if there are answers that myself, the sheriff, or the others up here can't answer, we'll ask our colleagues to come up.
Some clarity, no estimates if you had to demolish the downtown jail, there's no estimates on what that might cost?
I can answer
yeah.
that.
I have a question, but I don't know the
Yeah,
answer.
there's no current estimate. When we began the study, we weren't sure which facility we would be vacating, so the scope that would be in our next step to look at that.
So if you do end up demolishing it, we don't know how much it would $400 million. Won't it kind of get close to that $700 million amount if you got to demolish the downtown facility?
I don't think so. I think that someone gave us a bit of a back of the envelope calculation of 30 million. I don't know. I mean, I hesitate using that because I don't want this, this is 30 million. But, just a back of the envelope, I don't think it would cost much more than that. It is complicated just because of the constrained nature.
And then someone talk a little bit about the problem of moving incarcerated individuals to court dates and how much more that might get complicated?
That's a good question. Now, obviously, as the county executive said, with money not being an issue, we would want to be somewhere around the city of Buffalo in the first-ring suburban areas. But look at it now. Our transportation hub is on William Street in Cheektowaga. Alden is half an hour away from here. And so if we're picking up, say, 5 incarcerated individuals to go to court, Cheektowaga court, you're going out to Alden, to the holding center in Delaware, and then to Cheektowaga court. So moving forward, they're all going to be under one roof. Transportation's going to be there. Everybody's going to jump in the van and go directly to court instead of having to go to 2 locations. So it's going to be a much more efficient way of doing so. Obviously, again, with money not being an issue, but money is an issue. I mean, this is a great benefit not only for the incarcerated, the staff, the taxpayers. So, and with the county owning the land, we're talking about transition housing. We're talking about perhaps putting a courthouse. I know a lot of judges, defense attorneys would like to have a separate courthouse there. What happens if the juvenile detention center cannot hire people anymore and they're having issues with that? You move it out there. This is a postage stamp over here on Delaware Avenue. Any kind of construction that would happen here would really be a big inconvenience as far as operations go with all the people that we have there. And then on top of it, you got the 190 South and 190 North, the Skyway. I mean, that's their major arteries.
If I can just add, as an attorney who, prior to entering public service, occasionally practiced in town courts, the one thing people are forgetting is not every court is in the city of Buffalo. There's actually 3 cities and 25 towns, and each one of those has courts in which transportation has to exist. And as the sheriff talked about, transporting people to Cheektowaga Town Court. This happens all the time. So that even if we were in downtown Buffalo, there's still going to be substantial transportation costs to move people to the town courts for their hearings, whether it's Amherst, Concord, the village of Springville, Cheektowaga, Lackawanna. So there always was going to be transportation costs regardless of where we're going to be.
Sheriff, what about the employees, though? I mean, if they live closer here to downtown, they've got to drive. How do you make up for that?
Well, when I was growing up, and if I had to find a job somewhere, I would drive there. And Erie County, I got to tell you, we have an infrastructure for probably more than 1 million people, and it's easy to get around. We complain about traffic jams, but if anything, Alden might get more people living out there. I think for the staff itself, having a lunchroom, having a locker room, having an exercise room, having, in the summer, air conditioning. Sometimes the temperature gets so high in there. We have industrial fans. This is good for everybody. It really is. This is good for the people that are coming in, the nonprofits, to help our incarcerated with education, with job interviews, with culinary, everything, in classrooms too. So the benefits are, I can't think of anything negative.
And one final thing with regards to that is the individuals who work at the holding center, many of them park because they have to in paid lots downtown. Yeah. And they're non-secure lots. Not only will you have a secured lot, it'll be free for them. So they won't have to pay for parking, which means that it'll be more money that they can spend and hopefully spend to create sales tax across Erie County to benefit our budget. Yeah.
What about the sheriff's current office? What will happen there?
So My office is a EB Green design architectural gem on the outside. So I think I think that moving forward, that's a very valuable building for the county. You saw what a developer did with 74 Franklin. It was right out of Barney Miller, and beautiful apartment. So as far as the holding center, it's a great spot. Great spot. I wanted to touch on we have 60% of our incarcerated already out in Alden. And we talk about visits and so forth. You go there on any given day, and there's a ton of people there for visits. And what's really gotten a lot better since COVID is video conferencing. I mean, I do a lot of it, and now with tablets and we have the technology, a lot of incarcerated individuals take advantage of talking to their families with that. And as we move forward, I'm sure technology is going to advance to the point, the defense attorneys have to get comfortable with this, secure system, confidential, where they could talk to their clients that way. So, for people visiting, they won't have a problem getting a parking ticket downtown because you can't find anywhere to park around, the holding center. So for the visitors, for the staff, the parking, for the attorneys, this is a wonderful spot. It really is.
So Sheriff, just to follow up, and I'm sorry I came in late a little bit, but just to clarify, you were answering his question. Do you think your office could also move out there? You didn't definitively say that.
Oh, I'm sorry. To answer your question, I would go out to Alden. We also have a lot of people, Ron, our correctional health is housed over at 134 West Eagle. So we could move them out there. The transportation hub that's on William Street in Cheektowaga, they would move out there. We could even move the district house that we don't own any district houses anywhere in the county. We're very fortunate that the towns where we're the primary law enforcement agency gives us a room. So, the Alden deputies could move also there. So there's a lot of possibilities. I mean, we could move Professional Standards Division from our location in downtown also out there. There's many possibilities depending on the design and how much room that we really could consolidate a lot. But I would be out there, yes.
And it may seem a little premature, but if you took that holding center down, and as the sheriff just alluded, perhaps you moved more of his offices out there, would that be a very marketable property, do you think, for the county? And I don't know if that's figured into the calculations as to the fact that you could maybe sell that property, or are there other uses you have in mind?
Well, at this point, we wouldn't have any other uses from the county's perspective. The county's always looking at additional properties in downtown Buffalo depending on need, but because of the size of that footprint, I don't think we would necessarily need to use it for our own purposes. But as was noted, the key is to eventually sell it, whether it's completely demolished right to the pavement or an adaptive reuse. And the one thing I have realized is it's a lot easier and much less expensive to do adaptive reuses in our community than to build brand new. We just approved another adaptive reuse at the Erie County Industrial Development Agency with the old Iroquois door building on Exchange Street. And it's a more than 100-year-old building. And the nice thing about an adaptive reuse is they basically gut the interiors, but because of the strength of these structures, the age of them, you have a great superstructure with steel and generally good concrete. You could gut the interior, but still use the exterior and update it, and it costs a lot less. So that's why we're not saying it will be demolished or it will be adaptively reused. We will basically let the market determine what it is, but I don't believe that it would be of use to Erie County, and it would probably be better to get it back on the tax rolls, which would benefit everyone, including the city of Buffalo, which we all know needs more tax rolls.
Yeah, could you see what they did with the city police building, possibly? Is this a market?
Yeah, this is all part of it, yeah. There's no doubt about it. And we're talking about a process that's going to take a number of years. We're not even thinking about what the long-term ramifications are for that site until we've built the facility and moved all of the detainees, inmates out to Alden and basically close it. At that point, then we can start talking about options, and we're 3 to 4 years out from that.
It's premature, but I'm just saying. 'cause
Oh, it's thought,
there's
well,
some
yes.
costs, too.
Yes, we're thinking about it. It's just, it's not the main portion of this, because the main portion of this was to determine the best usage for our purposes of having a correctional facility and where that would be and the cost to construct that.
So what is the very next step?
The very next step is, there is a proposal in our 2026 capital program to do a more in-depth analysis and design of a facility for the Alden location, which will cost approximately $30 million, we believe. So the Capital Projects Committee for Erie County will be considering, as part of its deliberations this summer, many different proposals, road proposals, you name it, which is part of what the Capital Projects Committee does. And one of those is to allocate $30 million in 2026 to move ahead with what is not a comprehensive study, but now doing the design. Because you can't build until you do design. And that's not cheap. It's $30 million. So if we're going to do that, we're moving ahead with this. That's why we're having the conversations with the legislature now. We'll have the conversations with the legislature and the public through the summer. And if everything is approved, it will be approved as part of the budget process this fall, which allows us to move forward with actual design in 2026.
Everything stays on the same side of the street, you're not going across?
I think that's correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that 30 million part
We,
of the estimate?
we actually have the garage on the other side of the street, and I think we could incorporate that into the new facility, which would really help out with the program that we used to have, which would be, training the incarcerated to be mechanics.
There was a question, is the 30 million included? And, yeah, but I wanted people, so they can hear it at home, is the $30 million included in the cost estimate for the Alden renovation and new build? And the answer is yes.
What about cost overruns? How do you protect yourself from those? I mean, you look at the Bills Stadium, it's like, whoa.
Well, the Bills Stadium is a totally different beast, because the Bills changed the project plan. If you go back and look at the original project plan, which is for a $1.4 to $1.5 billion stadium, it did not have all the bells and whistles the team is putting in now. And the Bills will admit it themselves. A lot of these cost overruns have to do with the extras that they put on. We feel confident, based on the information that we have today, about the costs going forward. If we had done this analysis back in 2019 and 20, it would have been underestimated. There's no doubt about it. But we have a very good feel right now for the cost of steel, the cost of concrete, everything associated with that. And as I said recently when I was talking about this, we're not going to have to worry about having the nicest luxury boxes at the new facility in Alden like they are doing at the new facility in Orchard Park.
Are you worried at all about any backlash from the Alden community, making the footprint larger for incarceration?
Actually, if anything, I think there may be a positive from the Alden community. They're very concerned about the future of not only that facility, but the Wendy facility. And our goal is to strengthen this facility, because if you have these correctional facilities closed in these smaller rural towns, as we saw with what happened in the Gowanda facility, people move, people leave. Even though there's no taxes that are paid on the jail, there's a tax base that leaves these smaller communities. This, in some ways, as the sheriff noted, there'll probably be individuals who move closer to live near that facility who maybe don't live there now. So I actually think it will have a positive impact for the community of Alden, because it will have more people working in a dedicated location for decades to come. If there are no further questions, I want to thank everybody from the teams that did great work on this analysis and report. As I said, this is just the beginning. If we were talking about a 9-inning baseball game, we pretty much have finished the first inning. We have a couple more innings of design, and then it would be full construction. This is something that is a legacy project. You often hear me talk about legacy projects. Those are often projects that are too difficult to take on, or a lot of people don't want to take them on because of the political ramifications. But this is a legacy project that'll create a better, safer facility, and a modern one, which we don't have today. And this is a project that we can be proud of when all is said and done, because it'll create a better county, a safer county, especially for our inmates, detainees, and our staff. And it's something that probably, as the sheriff mentioned, should have been done 30 years ago, but it wasn't. And we're taking it on, and we'll get it done. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.